Okay. Hi, everybody. It is Mike, the Heal Your Gut Guy, and I got a special guest with me, a colleague. His name is Daniel, and he does German New Medicine and hypnosis. And he also used to suffer from a lot of gut issues, Crohn's, and it sounds like some other things. I'll let you tell us your story. I'm super excited to hear it.
Okay, thank you, Michael. My name is Daniele Favaro. I have created this new approach which combines the five biological laws and hypnosis. And that's because basically the five biological laws have been, I'm grateful to know them, GNM and the five biological laws. Because I went through a couple of important health issues throughout my life. The first one was Crohn's disease, and which probably some of you know how intense can be. And what happened, basically, the story is very simple. I was still in my 20s, my early 20s, and all of a sudden I started to have Crohn's disease symptoms. Through the years, it was something that came on and off, on and off. And I know there was some emotional aspect attached to it, but I couldn't figure out what it was until I learned GNM and the five biological laws. And the very nice thing that I noticed is that the first 2 years when I moved to America, now I live in the US, I'm originally from Italy, the symptoms were totally gone. And it's because I was very happy. So I was very happy with what I was doing, with my job, with my living situation, everything, and they were gone. So when they came back after 2 years, like, so what was the deal, right? And finally, by studying and learning GNM and the biological laws, I figured out it was a territorial anger conflict, right? It was something that was triggering me. I was feeling, I can say, angry or attacked by whoever was in my life, not treating me the way I was expecting them to treat me, right? So it goes back to always like working on yourself, like, why do you get angry? Why do you expect somebody to treat you in a certain way, right?
Yeah.
How come you don't realize that other people also have their problems, right? So you just need to take care of yourself and figure out how to deal with the world and with your life experiences, and how to reframe that emotions that come up to you when you're in certain situations. So I don't know if you want me to explain better or if you want me to go
Yeah.
better deep
So
into my story.
you said it was a territorial anger, and usually that's involved with the stomach or the rectum. What exactly was program was active?
The symptom that I was having were basically triggering having some blood in my stools. So
Okay.
I was having mostly the rectum, issues with my rectum. So it was an inability to absorb a situation, to accept, so absorb the situation. And when in the solution phase, what happens is that by eliminating the extra cells that are not necessary to absorb anymore, you get all those symptoms, right? But of course, what happens, as we all know, that if we don't know GNM, we see blood in our stools, we get scared. I went through all the normal procedure, like, colonoscopy.
Yeah.
That was one of the most painful experiences in my life, right?
In Europe, they do colonoscopies like while you're, well, in Ukraine, they do them while you're awake. But in America, they put you to sleep.
I did it when I was awake.
That sounds like insane. It's like something you would do
Really
on Saw or
insane.
something.
Totally.
It's like normal procedure in Europe, though. It's wild.
I know. Yeah, it was also some time ago. So it was interesting to me that finally, when I feel thankful that I got to know and learn about GNM, the biological laws, because finally they allow me to overcome the fear, overcome all these, emotions, because then we get to have tracks that are created also by the emotions that we experience when we have the symptoms, right? So we get stuck in this loop, because the regular normal reaction is like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my intestine? What's wrong with my stomach or whatever it's being affected? So it's important to do this reframing work that is done with education, like learning the GNM and the biological laws, and also reprogramming on the unconscious level, on the emotional level. So finding out what the DHS was, I prefer to call it also like the shocking experience, the unexpected emotional event that was shocking. go there, reframe it. And with hypnosis work is very nice because you can even put yourself in a deep state, and you can even connect with that person that is really making you angry. And you can try to look at the world through their eyes. So you have a better way to, it's much easier to embrace the situation, because like the person is not being nice to you, but what is their point of view? Why are they doing it? You know? So that's also something that I like to work on with my friends and my clients, because understanding that the person's point of view is very helpful, right? Besides relaxing, besides, you know, going to the meditative state or just reprogram yourself. So this is what I really love to do. And I have my website and my Facebook group in which I'm working on helping people with these issues. And I'm happy also that you are doing such a great job with your group on Facebook to help people get the knowledge of the biological laws and GNM.
Yeah, it's such a, you know, when I was first told about it, I thought whoever was telling me about it, I thought they were insane. And then I saw the brain scans, and I actually went and did a CT scan, and my wife did a CT scan, and on our brainstem relays where the intestines are controlled, sure enough, it's kind of hard to see on the brainstem because it's so small, but there was like scarring there, because my program is, I've had diarrhea. Like, I don't remember what my DHS was, but because I've had diarrhea since elementary school, like since I was very little, you know, on and off. But yeah, it's for me is I had a few different things going on. I had my pancreas program on, which can cause diarrhea, and then I had, you know, the small intestine, a lot of anger, and I'm a left-handed male, so I have like an aggressive constellation too. It's just also, I love the temporal lobes. The temporal lobe stuff is like my favorite. That's a little advanced for this talk, but like I love the temporal lobe stuff. So what were some of your tracks? Like what was your do you mind sharing what your DHS was, your conflict shock was?
Yeah. No, actually, I'm very happy to share that. So as you were saying, like also for me, it was not a single episode that created the DHS. I cannot also remember what was my initial
You
DHS.
don't remember
It was
yours?
more
Yeah.
like a situation.
Yeah.
It was a situation of life in which like day by day, of course, there must be an event, but even for me, it was not a clear event. It was just putting myself in a certain situation which I did not expect was going to be like that.
Yeah.
So it was the old situation, and then always perceiving and reacting emotionally, because also what I found out by working with my clients and through my own life is that we all have these emotional themes, right? We tend to react always in the same ways when there is something that's triggering us, and we can call them tracks because there is unconscious and subconscious tracks that are meant to protect us, but we could just call them as like a filter that we use to look at the world. Like, so we need to change our filters. Like we need to, you know, learn what's the empowering value of that experience. What do I need to learn from this experience instead of getting upset about it? You know, what do I need to understand that I'm still not understanding, right?
Yeah, that's what I tell my students. It's like what do you get emotional about? Those are going to be your tracks, and you'll be like, you learn so much about yourself. Like I get emotional over like laminate floors. Like we were looking at houses and they're like, oh, this house is super nice. And I would see like things that look nice, but they're kind of cheap. And I would get like upset. Like I get emotional and I'm like, it's not like we're buying, but like, why am I? It's like, doesn't logically make sense while I'm getting emotional. But like, if you kind of like write down all the things you get emotional about, you'll see like a theme. It's like, maybe it's authoritative figures you get angry at, like your doctors and teachers and stuff like that. And you'll start to like just write down the things you get emotional about. You have like a list of like 10 or 20 things, depending on how, you know, how many issues you got. And you start working through them and changing your perception on these things.
I totally agree with that. It's very good to what you're saying, like, you know, being aware of what triggers our emotions. And the other thing that is not easy sometimes to have people understand is that we can be emotional about anything, and we can be triggered by anything. We can, in a way, we can become allergic even to a person, or to an environment, because that person, because of their own issues, because of their own tracks and DHS, whatever, they behave in a way which it's hard for us to digest. So in a way, we also need to understand that we need to create the environment that makes us feel home, makes us feel, territory protected, safe and secure. The other thing that I like to share with my clients is that we can use hypnosis, like it's actually self-hypnosis. Like when you get emotional about something, beforehand, write down 2 or 3 of your main goals for your month, for your day, or for your life. Like, what are your main goals in this present moment? Memorize them, or just keep that piece of paper with you with these goals that need to be written in positive, need to be about experience you want to have, not just like, oh, I don't want to have this, I don't want to have that, I don't want to feel bad. No, because the unconscious mind needs to know what you want to have, right? Positively. Write those 2 or 3 goals down. When you find yourself emotional, get the piece of paper out and write it and read it out loud to yourself, if you can, or just read it, because you are reprogramming yourself in this way towards your goals. And we can see nowadays that one of the best way in which people unfortunately are being conditioned is how scaring them and telling them what to do. And that's a very hypnotic, very powerful hypnotic tool, especially with fear. So when we're afraid, when we're angry, when we're emotional, also when we're in love, when we're excited, whenever we have a strong emotion, the best way to reprogram ourselves is to get out that piece of paper with our goals and read it out loud, or read it ourselves. And that's gonna subconsciously reprogram ourselves, unconsciously reprogram ourselves. That's also something I'm really passionate about sharing, to help people change.
Yeah, I really like that. It's like we just have like bad habits programmed into us from like our culture, and
from the
just
media.
The way it is. Yeah, just the way it is right now. The media, it's, you sell stuff by making people feel like they're not whole. And then the news, I don't know what they're doing, but they're just trying to scare you. So when you started, so when you started learning German new medicine, what was that like for you? Like, how long, like, did you have food intolerances? Were you going on crazy diets? Like, did you have to like switch off a diet? How long did it take for you to kind of like clear up your symptoms?
Well, basically what happened to me is that, as I said, I used to have Crohn's symptoms for at least 10 years on and off. Then I moved to America. They were gone for 2 years. And then again, they were on and off. So I subconsciously knew, I intuitively knew that it was not about what I was eating. It was about my emotional state. But it was not until I learned GNM that I figured out which emotions to work on. Because what is great about GNM is that based on the symptoms, we know exactly not only which exact part of the brain it was triggered by that emotion, but which emotional theme we need to work on. So when I know that I need to work on this anger, right, or this situation that is triggering me, and there can be tracks that we need to dissolve, as you know, and probably our listeners know too. But when we know exactly what to work on, that's much easier, because between me and you, like, I've been trained by famous hypnotists. I've been a hypnotist for the last 5 years. Hypnosis is very powerful and it works, but hypnosis is like, doesn't know this, unfortunately, because
it doesn't know what emotions to and you need to be very specific with what it is.
So if I'm a client, I work with a famous, prestigious hypnotist, and I believe that they're very powerful and good, I can feel much better afterwards, and I can be happy. But maybe I just solved the secondary DHS. Maybe I just solved a track or some tracks, right? But if I don't address the primary DHS that is still probably active, then I don't complete the healing part, right? Because I still have some symptoms, So that what is cool is to combine the power of hypnosis and go directly on that emotional aspect to work on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah. And Dr. Hammer used to spend like
it's
hours talking to his clients, trying to figuring out what the DHS was a lot of the times. And
it's all about the human connection, because we've been told that you have the symptoms, take this pill, do this surgery or whatever, right? And that is something that can be helpful or alleviate the symptoms, because we have to be clear, like if the symptom is intense, if there's a lot of pain, if there's a lot of discomfort, we want to try to alleviate the symptom in any way that we think are useful to us. But we want to also be aware of the emotional component, right? And the report with the therapist is everything, right? You need to trust your therapist, and the therapist needs to understand you, connect with you, and see where you're at. That's the main work that we love to do, right? You discover the story, you discover the person, and you get to know yourself better, you get to know the other person better. That it's fascinating. That's why I like so much.
Yeah, it's great.
So,
it's before, my conversations were like, eat this, eat that, take these supplements, and now it's so much more interesting to learn about the other person, and I've learned so much about myself just doing German new medicine, because now I'm like hyper aware of what I get emotional about, and it's like, whoa, I wonder why I get emotional about that. Like, what happened to me in the past? It's like, okay, maybe someone tried to rip me off with laminate floors or something. I don't. It's like weird. It's like the smallest thing. Like, I could be talking about something with my wife, and I'll just all of a sudden just like get on my soapbox. I'm just like, where'd that come from? It's so interesting.
The other thing that I wanted to point out, and I've been writing a couple of articles on my Facebook group, is that we need to be aware of how the unconscious mind works, because we think that we always consciously make our decisions and our choices consciously, and instead we're just basically, what comes to the surface, the conscious thought, is just the result of the unconscious beliefs, the unconscious programs that we have. And so we need to just work on the unconscious, and the unconscious we work by technique I told earlier, just when you're emotional, focus on your goals, and just by being very picky about what we expose ourselves to, right? Because even if I know that I'm watching a movie and I know it's a movie, I still get emotional about it. So what does it tell me? That my subconscious and conscious mind does not know the difference between the image that I see on the screen, even if I consciously know it's a movie. So these are all actors and they're just pretending. I still get scared. I still can cry. So I'm still being programmed unconsciously by whatever I see. So even if I see the news and maybe I don't believe in what they're saying, just by seeing the news and see all those negative things, the bad stories that they like to talk about in the news, that is still programming in my subconscious mind deeply, and it's going to have an impact on me.
At the very least, you'll be like more fearful,
totally,
or something like that. Yeah. Or maybe you'll be more angry. It makes me angry.
So my solution for that is just to like create a sacred, space of like, I'm going to choose what I expose myself to, I don't want to just buy into whatever everybody is saying, even if it's true, but and it's always subjective, right? Yeah. But is this really helping me? Is it helping me seeing that these people are getting sick or they're dying? Is it always that going to help my emotional brain?
I think that's why people might have been like healthier like 100 years ago. Just there was like these disease rates have gone up with like our media exposure, and there's just it's like insane how many like information inputs we have today. It's like compared to the 90s before you had a cell phone or something. Like, it's crazy. So
and most of them are negative, right?
How
much
we've gone from like the top TV shows being comedies to like all of them are dramas now, like all of them, when they all used to be comedies probably like 20-30 years ago. There's like a drama TV show. What's that? Now it's like a comedy TV show. What's that?
And also the other aspect is that, I wanted to share the two aspects important, is that we have all this biological pull to want to be part of a big group of people.
Yeah.
Because for our survival, that's our instinct tells us that if we're part of the big herd, we are going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I don't think that's always the case, especially,
it's not the case today.
especially nowadays.
Yeah.
But we need to realize that. So we don't need to be afraid to be the few ones that know about this empowering information from GNM,
Mm-hmm.
even if it goes against what the rest of the world is saying.
Yeah.
And we have this push of being a part of the group. So it's important to be aware of that. And it's important to know that even the emotions are something that it becomes an addiction too, until we don't stop and ask ourselves, like you said, why am I getting emotional about this? Like, is it really like worth to be emotional about it? Because if I don't stop and ask myself that question, it's like being in a jungle, right? To go from point A to point D in a jungle, we have our main path that are like our main old emotional ways of looking at the world. If I want to create a new path of being stable, of being joyful, or being centered, I need to start cutting with a machete, a new path in the jungle. And that's going to take some effort. I need to go back and forth. So practice the new perception, the new way of looking at the world, the new emotional positive state. So transmuting the negative emotion into either neutral or even better positive emotion. That's what I really like to work on.
That's really cool. Cool.
With myself.
So yeah, I was thinking we could wrap it up, but I'll give like the three things that I like to tell people to kind of like get started with healing like a gut issue is one, stop blaming food and start like I imagine like this little devil on your shoulder, being like, or your favorite YouTuber going like, you can't eat that. That's going to kill you. Like you need to knock that guy off your shoulder and just instead, this is safe. I can eat this. Can a normal person eat this? Then I can eat this.
Totally.
That's big number one for me. The second one is start to identify what you get emotional about, because those could be your tracks. They could be your tracks. Some of them have to be, not all of them, but some of them will be your tracks. So start perceiving those things differently or physically fixing those things. But usually it's a perception thing. And then just understanding that diarrhea and blood and mucus, this is the body getting rid of those extra gut cells because you experience that hard to digest thing, build up extra gut cells to help you digest this hard to digest thing. And then when it gets resolved, we're getting rid of these extra gut cells. And that's when the healing symptoms come on. And so just when you get those nasty symptoms, just know it's part of the healing phase and stay relaxed and calm. Those are kind of like my three big.
I totally agree with that. I like that. I do the same thing. I also wanted to add the other very empowering thing that I got from GNM is that our body is intelligent. Our body is a result of millions of years of evolution. And when he's doing something, he's always doing it with a positive intent. So we just need to know why he's doing it and what he's reacting to. So that's how I get over the fear. So if I understand, like we get scared of the symptoms is just telling us that the body is alive and he's trying to do something, either in an active phase or in a healing phase, right? Either sympathikotonia or vagotonia. But we are being told that we should have symptoms. But when does the body have no symptoms? When he's dead? When the body is dead,
that's true.
has no symptoms. So if I have symptoms, because my body is alive and it's trying to do something. So my job is to understand what it's doing and to help that process to be complete by dissolving that emotion, by transmuting that emotion. And also ask myself, what do I feel when I get the symptom? And reframe that. Like, as you said, like the symptoms are positive, are most of the time healing symptoms. So when I have the symptoms, what am I feeling? What am I telling myself? So reframe that and say, the body is healing, my body is healing, is doing something meaningful and intelligent. My job is to support my body in completing the process. And how do I complete the process? Reframing my emotions, reframing how I look at the world. Pretty much how I feel about the world, actually, even better. Because it's all about feeling rather than thinking, right? It's how we feel about the world that is triggering the programs, the special biological programs.
Yeah, that's
okay.
perfectly
Thank
said.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So tell us about some of your services that you have. I'll link to your website down below.
I have a website that is being transformed. It's called Hypnosis 5BL, meaning 5 biological laws, in which I'm basically switching from the regular hypnosis services, which used to be weight loss and self-smoking. Now I am offering 5 biological laws coaching and consultations and hypnosis also, because I create these hypnosis sessions that combine the knowledge of the 5 biological laws with hypnosis. And then I just started to create this new Facebook group with an Italian colleague of mine, which is a specialist expert in the 5 biological laws for the last 20 years. And he's giving me even more in-depth look on the 5 biological laws, because there's so many different programs, so many different things to look at. And so it's very complex. So if we just want to focus on the intestinal and gastrointestinal system, we are focused and we can deal with it. But when it deals with all the 120 plus programs, it becomes a little bit complex. So we work together, and I'm very happy to offer that to my clients. So hypnosis5bl.com.
Cool. All right, I'll link to it down below. Be sure to check it out. But
okay.
Thank you. Thank you for all your insights, and
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for this interview. I appreciate it.
All right, bye everybody.
Ciao, bye.
Thank you.